We are good. Thank you so much, Pam. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Sorry, I was running a little bit late. I was actually on another Zoom. That's the way the world works now. So my apologies.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order here at 7:31. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of Park and Rec Commission meeting of March 10th, 2021. So I will just look at the screen to make sure
I'm
we
on
have
Zoom.
everyone. Thank you, Francesca. I see a motion to approve. Do I see a second? Let me see.
Jake's hand is up.
Thank you, Jake. I have a second.
Go out.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? I don't see anyone. Perfect. Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. B, those were approved. Second item on the agenda is the Waveney Park Conservancy, the Anderson Pond additional landscaping plan. We have Caroline on with us. Caroline, thank you so much. I will hand it off to you. Caroline Garrity. You just have to unmute.
Thank you, Rana. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Caroline Garrity, Chairman of the Waveney Park Conservancy, and also on the call is Chris Shipper, one of our Conservancy board members and the Conservation Chair for the town of New Canaan. It is a pleasure to present the Conservancy's new enhanced planting plan for Anderson Pond, one of the Conservancy's major projects, as you all know, and one which we believe is enjoyed by so many park visitors. As you will recall, when the pond was dredged and restored, we planted rhododendron, dogwood trees, witch hazel, and ferns, as well as some aquatic plants. The shrubs and trees have survived very well, but we lost the ferns, and little did we know that the pond's resident snapping turtle would eat all the aquatic plants. Now we would like to enhance the visual impact of the pond for all visitors, whether they are looking from up above at the walled garden or as they meander around the raised walkways and get up close to the water's edge. The plantings will include deer-resistant shrubs blooming during spring, summer, and fall, and perennials, wetland plants, and sedges. Our goal is twofold. We want to add a more robust landscape to, one, deter people from walking through the plantings, and two, to better define the pedestrian walkways. We are planting everything that is pretty deer resistant and snapping turtle resistant. Hopefully we can use netting in the winter months to protect the rhododendron and one other shrub, the winterberry or Ilex verticulata, which the deer will eat. Let me take you on a little tour starting on the upper, if you're looking at the plan, on the upper left corner here. Where you see the brown raised footpath. This area is somewhat overgrown and a little wild in the summer. So we would like to add beds of shrubs and sedges, the carex, which you see in the photographs over here, to enhance the wetland and accent the walkway. As you come across the raised walkway, onto the other side of the pond and near the access road, the gravel road, we will add more shrubs and ground covers as you get close to the observation deck and all along that east side of the pond. We want more pathway definition, as you see, like right here and here, so that the plantings won't be trampled. And we will use mulch on the designated pathways and then have a 3 to 5 foot natural grass path along the pond edge. This will allow for access to the pond and the water, which every child searching for frogs needs. Continuing around until we arrive at the spillway area, on the left-hand side or the western side, we are reconfiguring the pathway so that it also abuts the water. And then the ferns and shrubs, a few shrubs, will now be set back from the water's edge. Regarding the plants that you're looking at on the slide, the first one, the Cephalanthus occidentals, or buttonbush, is a native fragrant flowering shrub with a white pincushion flower head. It attracts birds, butterflies, and hummingbirds. It blooms in the summer and continues to be of interest through the fall. The Itea virginica, or Henry's garnet, is also called sweetspire and is native, fragrant, and blooms with a white flower in the summer and turns reddish in the fall into the early winter. The clethra, anifolia, or sweet pepper bush, or summer sweet it's also called, is a native that grows well in wet soil, blooms in July and August, and attracts birds and butterflies. The Ilex verticulata, or winterberry, is a kind of holly that also grows well in wet conditions and has small white flowers in the summer and then beautiful bright red berries, as you can see in the picture here, in the winter. The Cornus sericea, or red twig dogwood, which is down here, that's a winter, obviously a winter picture of it, grows well here in Connecticut in wet soils and has clusters of small white flowers, and then looks amazing in the winter with its red branches. The rhodies bloom in the spring, and this picture, they're white, I mean, they're pink, but we're gonna have white rhodies to match the ones that are already there. While the Phlox diverticata, right here. While the Phlox diverticata and iris bloom in the spring, the asters and the helianthus will bloom in the summer. The various hardy carex on the far right column will all thrive in the wet woodland conditions and are perennials, so will provide a semi-evergreen look throughout the winter. So no pruning is necessary for any of the plants, and they will all naturalize eventually. For the first couple of seasons, we will weed for invasives, and we will mulch every year, which will help with the foot traffic and invasives. The plan was designed by Keith Bellizzi of William Kenny Associates, the firm which designed the pond restoration and the original landscape plan. And I think Keith has done a terrific job. Financially, this project will be fully funded by the Conservancy with a very special gift from the Anderson family again, and other Waveney Park Conservancy supporters. The plantings will be installed by a local landscape firm under our direction. I hope you will agree with me that this will be a wonderful pond enhancement for visitors to enjoy this summer and into the fall and winter months. Thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Caroline, thank you. That was a great presentation. I think having that kind of dedication to that area of the park and the pond, it really has transformed into something where you can see the walkers, picnickers, you know, people sitting and enjoying that view now. And it makes such a huge difference. And for someone on the commission hearing that it's fully funded, I mean, that's a gift. It truly is just improving the park more and more. Are there any questions? If anyone has a question and they'd like to raise their hand at this time. Fabulous. I mean, that's just a testament to the presentation and to that benefit. Thank you, Caroline. Would anyone like a motion to approve the Anderson Pond planting plan that Caroline just presented here on April 14th, 2021? Thank you, Hank. And second, Francesca, thank you so much. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Caroline, congratulations, quick and painless. And I know we'll be seeing someone from your group next month to present the commission with an update on the pet receptacles. So thank you so much. We look forward to hearing all about that and what has transpired thus far.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
For the commission.
Next on the agenda, we have the Fields Committee Spring Update. So we are lucky enough to have Jay Egan here with us tonight. As always, we have Steve Benko and John Howell. For those on the commission that have not remembered, the Fields Committee actually does come back to us and give us updates and reports. And it's under kind of the purview of Parks and Rec. So please feel free to ask your questions this evening. You know, we try to have them in front of us at least once a year. So this is a special time for them and a very busy time for them because it is spring season. John, Steve, and Jay, I'm not sure who would like to go first to start the update. Thank you. Somebody had, oh, Jay, you might have to unmute. There you go.
Got it. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to just give everyone a brief overview of the process that we use. The Fields Committee uses to allocate fields. So we have basically there are field allocation for the fall season and for the winter and for the spring season. And traditionally, we will meet with all the spring teams in mid-December. And at that time, we ask all of the possible users. We ask all the possible users what their needs are. So it's a basic needs assessment that's done twice a year. It's done mid-May for the fall, and it's done mid-December for the spring. This year we were a little late with all the COVID issues, and we got to this the first week in February via Zoom. For us, the challenge in the spring is a little more complicated than it might be in the fall. We are meeting the needs. We're trying to meet the needs of all the needs that are presented. And there are needs in the spring that are short-term, which are baseball and softball before the fields, we're able to get on the fields. And normally we don't get on the fields until maybe the first or second week in April. This, as everyone knows, is an unusual spring. So they were able to get out sooner. Nevertheless, we create turf time. So what I'm discussing here is the allocation of our turf field resources for the spring and for the fall. And so in the spring, we have a preseason allocation that includes lacrosse, soccer, baseball, and softball. And then our general spring schedule encompasses lacrosse, which is a large program in the community. Some of you may know, I'm told it's about 11, the registration's about 1,100 athletes involved in that program. But then we also have soccer, and soccer is a little different in that it's a two-season sport, but they have about approximately 700 registrations this spring. So there's 700 citizens that are involved in soccer in the spring. So we take all this information into consideration, and then we allocate the resources. Now, there's always more need than there is actual resources that we have. And people are very passionate about how they advocate for what their needs are, which as an athletic director, I understand that. All of our coaches at the high school think that their sport is the most important sport that we have. And I think that's very desirable to have people like that have that passion, to have that interest. And I would say the same situation exists for youth sports. I think that having a fields committee, which is a neutral group of professionals that work for the town that are going to allocate these facilities, is really it's a very wise organizational move. And so we take that as Steve and John and I, we take this as, a very big responsibility, and, programs are only as good as the facilities that are made available to them. And so we try to do the best we can to be as fair as we possibly can, and to meet as many people's needs as we can. So I'll just mention that there is, there's a, I don't want to say conflict, that's too strong of a word, but there's some misunderstandings maybe about soccer. And soccer is a European sport on top of a European model on top of the American model of seasonal sports. But we have always, I went back to Steve, and I think since late 1970s, soccer has always been a spring sport and a fall sport in New Canaan. Soccer has competitions that are well organized as far as the spring is concerned. They have 700 participants. And so we do allocate some small turf resources for them in the spring, which we are not as nearly as much as we would in the fall, which we would consider their primary season. But what I wanted just to put together here for you all, so you can understand the scope of this, is the majority of the field allocation in the spring is for our lacrosse program, as it should be, with 1,100 people, young people in that program. We do feel that there's a need for allocation for soccer as well, but it's very minimal. And in that handout that I sent around today, it's basically is only for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, and there's some allocation for practice, and then there's a game, some time set aside on Saturdays, or excuse me, on Sundays, a chunk of time set aside for their games. So I guess the message that we really wanted to bring to you all today is I know that sitting on boards, you probably get a lot of questions about how fields are allocated, and all questions about fairness and so forth. And I think many times it's hard for all of you to have all the information about a particular situation. So the three of us put our heads together, knowing that we were coming here tonight, and we wanted to sort of give you the background information about this. The other thing that exists is we, through the New Canaan Athletic Foundation, I see Mike is here and Bobby's here. They purchased a calendar. It's called Easy Calendar for the fields that they rent in the summer, and they've been kind enough to let us use that. And I've entered all of the information about who's using what fields when in the spring. And there's a link that I sent to Rana, but the very simple way to find that calendar, if you wanted to look at it, was go to ncrams.com, which is our athletic website. Right on the front page of that website, there's a button that says field schedule. Click on that button and it goes to the field schedule, and you would be able to then see which organization has use of which turf fields from now through second week in June. So why don't I pause and see if there's any questions, and then I can let Steve and John add anything that I may have forgotten that's important for you guys to know.
Jay, thank you. That would be great to have the guys add what they may have. I'm curious about, so the site that I have up on the screen, sharing the screen, is that the easy schedule? You mentioned that NCAF, it is.
It is.
So if I'm reading it correctly, then you have all the fields from Dunning, Water Tower 1 and 2 and 3, correct? Saks, not beyond that, correct?
Yeah, we're not. We haven't used this for Steve. Has other calendars for Saks, but we basically have been concentrating on per field allocation.
And is there a way to ensure that all the fields that are being used and allocated could be under one umbrella and one system, and easy for historical data? Say if one sport like softball had more time than baseball, or lacrosse got more than soccer, is there historical data that you could use from this system?
Well, I believe there are. I believe that's possible. Bobby Rushton actually showed me historical user data that he pulled off from last summer from this system. So I think that we can go back. He's here if he wants to add something as far as that. I'm pretty sure that we can pull that data once everything's entered onto this calendar. I think we can pull the information that you're thinking about off of the calendar.
And is there a reason why maybe we're not on one system, Steve or John, if you want to chime in?
Yeah, there's another website too. We have one called New Canaan Field, New Canaan Sports Facilities, and that's a league athletics site. And for instance, baseball and softball and lacrosse and soccer or lacrosse all use the league athletics site. And so when they put their games in, those games automatically upload to the New Canaan Sports Facility site. So we can look and see who's on sacks, who's on the girls softball fields, who's on the meat park fields.
Okay.
We have that.
Steve, what is it called again? New Canaan Sports, what?
New Canaan Sports Facilities.com.
Okay, because the easy facility is not accurate. It's not up to date. So it would be great if which site is actually up to date.
Each sport like lacrosse and baseball and softball have their own league athletic sites,
Right.
and they have master calendars. And you go to their website, you click on their
Right.
master schedule. It'll tell you what teams are playing, what fields, what times.
And
those
B,
schedules
for,
supposed to
just for the
automatically
record,
upload
that's
to our
Annie
site.
Watson who's asking the question.
Yes, sorry, my son's name is listed. He changed it. Right, I definitely understand that every single spring sport has their own master schedule, but do all like baseball, softball, soccer, or lacrosse, are they all on New Canaan Sports Facility?
Yeah, Annie, I'll send you the website. Soccer doesn't go to it anymore because the CJSA or Southwest District changed from league athletics to another website, so it doesn't connect with league athletics. But
Okay.
for lacrosse and baseball and softball, those automatically upload to our New Canaan Sports Facility site.
And how often,
Okay.
Steve, is that updated? I guess the reason for the question,
Yeah.
Annie, maybe you're thinking the same thing, is I'm just wondering, and I assume there was just one site for all sports. And is that not possible having this access, Bobby, that you gave us? Bobby, could you answer that?
Sure. So right now, Easy Facility currently has up to 5 fields that the Athletic Foundation pays for. It has the capacity to hold, I think, between 8 and 12. That would just be an additional cost to have all the Saks fields represented. But yes, to Jay's point, all the information that is added to that system will be archived and can be pulled up. And you could get data specifically for each field. You get data for Dunning, Water Tower 1, or by each organization, however it's inputted. So you could actually pull real-time data from that calendar software, and you'd be able to feel the allocation. So if that helps answer that question. So it has the capacity to. You just really need to have real-time updates, because the schedules are constantly changing, or there's sometimes are conflicts or cancellations or rainouts. So Easy Facility has the capacity to do that. You would just need someone to monitor and maintain that on a day-to-day basis.
And is that sort of what we're doing anyway on the other systems, Steve? And is it updated, with those changes, or there's got to be instances where we miss one.
I've got to check. I got to check to see if our subscription was paid for the town for the New Canaan Sports Facility part. But
The subscription is paid in full. We're all set.
It's all set. But what should happen is lacrosse and baseball and softball should automatically update. And anytime anybody adds a game or changes a game, it should automatically update to our website as well. So we don't do anything. It automatically is all done. Whether lacrosse, softball, or baseball adds or changes a game, that should automatically come up to our website.
Steve,
Understood, I
through that
guess.
website, are you able to collect that same kind of data through the sports
Sure.
website?
I can collect all the data of that, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, I think,
Anything I can collect-
go ahead, Steve, I'm sorry.
Anything I can collect the data on any field that's lighted from Musco. I have a full schedule that I can tell you who used what field, who have lights for what hours, what time. It's already automatic update to Musco, so I can pull that off too.
Yeah, I think my fear is that now we're talking the Musco lighting app, then we're talking the sports system, then we're talking the Easy system. I assume we had this all under one system with the thought of realizing who's using what field and which activity, making sure that, it's an even playing field, because like Jay said, the passion for each of the sports, depending on what you're in, it's just as high and wants the most time, and making sure that it's, as even as can be. And then if not, then the following year, those that were less than would be, brought up to speed, so their year would be a little more. Do you guys
I
agree?
don't know.
I'm not quite sure about the fact that the easy facility calendar is not up to date. I worked on it today, so I don't know that it's not up to date. And I think, whether we have parallel calendars or, Steve's calendar automatically updates when people use league athletics and enter games. So that had a specific use for that. The easy facility calendar might be better for the public to look at, to understand what fields people are on, and coaches want to know, and others want to know. I think it's up to date based on what I know, which is I pretty much know where everybody is and what's going on. So I'm not sure that it's not up to date at this point, or that it couldn't be updated. One other thing that I think is an important point here is when we schedule youth sports, we don't schedule 7B lacrosse for 6 o'clock to 6:30. We schedule 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock for boys lacrosse on Dunning Field, or we schedule 5:30 to 9 o'clock on Water Tower 2 for girls lacrosse. And we depend on the organizations to then use those time blocks to meet their needs. And their needs are, again, generated through our assessment. So all we would be able to know at best, unless these organizations are willing to put down specific practice times like we do for the high school, just because it's easy. But for them, it would be much more difficult to put in the hour blocks that they use throughout, say, a Saturday when they have 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock as far as field uses are concerned. So maybe that's not important to do that, but I think that's another for the group to understand that we're allocating blocks of time, some small blocks of time for youth soccer and large blocks of time in the spring for boys and girls lacrosse, basically for the New Canaan Lacrosse Association to use as they see fit to run their program.
Got it, Jay. I guess the one question I would have then in summarizing is, what can you show us, or the three of you show us, that tells us who used what field in the last, say, 3 months? What teams, and how do I know what percent the teams have? Do you know what I mean? I guess I'm trying to get to apples for all types of.
I have an Excel spreadsheet that has every week, starting the first week of March through the middle of June. And it has every week, and it has for the turf fields, Dunning, Water Tower 1, Water Tower 2, Water Tower 3. And we've got different color for every organization. It has all the high school sports on it, everything else. So I could send you that. I could send you that Excel spreadsheet.
I think it'd be very important.
Like Jay said, we give a team, right? We give a sport from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It'll be all yellow. It says NC Lax on it, or it'll say it might be blue and it says NC Soccer. So you can see where they're allocated. It's up to them to assign the teams during that time frame. We don't do that.
Understood. And I know, Bobby, you and Mike are on, and Bobby for lacrosse, I think. Is there anybody else on the call tonight from baseball or softball that has any feedback on the fields or the field usage? And I'll just wait for a show of hands. I didn't see anyone.
I see Rob Moore.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Yeah, look, I think in terms of the field usage, we primarily use, Melick and Gamble, and then the grass and dirt fields. So what you are asking about right here, you're likely not going to see baseball and softball on there, but we have asked, as the program grows, for some time on the turf. So your backwards data wouldn't show that, because we don't have that for the spring. So like for our little Cubs guys, our bigger question, I think, is really just more about pre-planning for the season, and then ongoing maintenance of our existing fields. And I think it is so much the turf fields. But I get your point about there is no, I don't think, an aggregated system that is going to have all of our schedules in one place if you're trying to determine fair share use of the fields, is what I think I'm hearing you ask. I'm not aware of one that exists. We all subscribe to our own individual scheduling sites.
Okay,
And then I think as Steve was talking about, he has access to those and then hopefully can feed that in, but I couldn't speak to how that aggregates up, but we each subscribe to our own individual scheduling sites, and you'd need to aggregate that up to determine fair share use of fields and things.
okay. Thank you for that. And I assume when NCAF has these fields, Jay, during the time of what, June 15th to like August 15th? Bobby, Mike, are you just using your system then where you know where everyone is and you have historical for it?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, okay. And I'm assuming then you just handle the complaints as they come in. Someone is feeling like they're not getting enough time or, need more time, or if there's somebody who's changed a game or a game is canceled, do you offer that space out there to the other teams?
During the summer. So if during the summer, on a weekly basis, I, reach out to all the coaches that are going to be using the facility with their allocated time, and if something has changed or if there's been a cancellation, we're all on a similar chain. So then we can, divide up that field, and then, I take it off of the schedule and I re-update it with the new information. So if someone shows up to a field, at the wrong time or shows up at the wrong field, they pull up the, easy facility schedule, and they have, that's real live updated, every day. And then, they're able to go to the right field, or they call me and, I talk about the complaint if there is one.
Okay,
Hey,
Mike,
Ron, if you understand too, during the summer months, most of the field use by the NCAF is rental time. It's not free to the
True.
community.
yep,
Hey, Rana, it's Mike Benevento, and hi to the commission. Thanks for having us. I'll just make a statement. I'm here as a representative of the Athletic Foundation, and I think everybody knows here that we are, a community organization that represents all sports and the community, and we're in a formal partnership with the town. So I work with John and Steve and Jay a lot, and for better or for worse, sometimes I hear and field a lot of the, I wouldn't call them complaints necessarily, just I hear a lot from a lot of different sports. And the one thing that I've spoken with all these guys, particularly Jay, about this, the one thing that I do realize, and maybe more than some others, is the dynamic activity within the sports on a year-to-year basis, and the growth or the shrinkage in the various sports and all the programs. And I'm sensitive to that, not only in the past, but going forward, because these are living, breathing things and they change every year. So one of the reasons why we got the software-based system that's in the cloud and has the ability to record some of this information is because it changes year to year, and we want to be able to stay on top of that and look back on past usage and be able to figure out as just a useful tool that will help us manage going forward. And I think Jay and I have talked about this. It will get even more difficult next year when we change school chimes. So to have some of this historical data, it's gonna mess with the way that we've historically managed fields. But and it's these guys that have to do that, and it's a very challenging exercise every year. So something like purchasing the easy scheduling software is to help all of that. And again, the Athletic Foundation is a neutral organization listening to all these different sports. So I just try to feed from our standpoint. We try to get that information, gather it, and give some of the feedback to the Fields Committee, who at the end of the day, they're the ones that outside of even in the June 15th to August 15th period, they're managing it. That we have to get their permission to run the enterprise zone activities during those months. But it's their responsibility. So we try to be as helpful and be good partners in that endeavor. And like I said, we hear a lot of feedback. So.
thank you, Mike. Are there any questions or comments from the commission at this point? A hand or? Great. I think, we continue the conversation here. I think in my opinion, maybe seeing if that easy facility system, by adding a few more sports or lines. I don't know the cost. I don't know who would pay for it. I'm just wondering and throwing it out there if by doing that, you then have the data and it's saved and it's in one system, one world, and there's no confusion. But only a thought to the Fields Committee. Otherwise, I can't imagine what you guys juggle. I know all the parents in this town are demanding. I know all the fields are in demand. So I appreciate the hard work. I know it's blood, sweat, and tears, and John and Steve for maintaining them and those schedules. So hats off to you. Thank you for the update. Thanks for all the input tonight.
All right, thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, our next item on the agenda is the summer theater request for the 2021 program.
Okay, I'll start it
Thank you, Jack.
off. And so Ed, Steve, and I discussed and walked a couple of the fields. I believe Ed is here. I think I see him. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Ed, to present the field that you wanted to get.
Great. Thank you, Jack. Hello, Rona, and everyone on the commission, Tiger and John. It's good to see you again. As you know, the summer theater has been in Waveney Park for the last, I guess, 16 of the last 18 years. And in one configuration or another, either in the restored garden at Irwin Park, in over by the high school fields. And then the last time we were there, they just completed building the new sports fields, which are just magnificent. The only problem we had is all the water drained right into our tent. So we had to find a new space. Fortunately, we were able to work out something with the library. And that was basically a 1 or 2 year relationship, but now they're starting the building and it's moving forward. So we don't have any other space really that is commercial or excuse me, is private or away from people pretty much. The other thing I'd like to point out is listening to the athletics. I mean, with such a robust program going on, at least we're picking a spot that is totally independent of any sports going on, pretty much in all aspects. All right, let me. Should I share the screen, or do you have the proposal that was sent to you?
The commission has a proposal.
I could share it.
Can I
if,
share the screen,
or
Rona?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I've got that on.
I could share it, Ed, if you want.
Sure.
Halfway on.
Yeah, let me go ahead
Okay.
if you'll stop sharing, then I'll
Oh,
start.
I'm sorry.
Unless
there you
you're,
Okay.
it worked right there. You had it.
Oh,
I'll share. I'll share for you.
Okay.
You just tell me when to change it. All right.
sure.
You can see, right?
Yeah, that's great. Essentially, as you know, we're a nonprofit 501c3. There's, it'll be the 17th year in the park, as I mentioned. The dates we're looking at are consolidated compared to last seasons. Normally, we would be doing 9-10 weeks of programming. Now we're only doing really, I guess, four weekends of programming, or 4 weeks of programming primarily. So it's all been condensed. We've also been known for our rather robust productions and projects, with casts of 25, 30 people, all professionals from Broadway, et cetera. Lots of interns, 25 interns, and a host of other actors that we bring in, and crew and staff. This year, due to obviously the COVID and treading lightly, we've been working with the Yale School of Health with their chairman, and he directly is in contact with the governor, and we've discussed with him what our timeline is, what we would like to do, how many people approximately we'd like to see, and he feels very confident that come July, again, short of any major spike in COVID, that it would be likely to be able to do an outdoor program. The other thing is I'll just stay on the health issue for a while because we're talking about bringing people together. Also the health issues, everyone who is part of the program is vaccinated. The actors, the staff, the crew, the technicians, everybody is vaccinated. Also, we're working with Actors Equity Association. That's the union for professional actors for Broadway and across the country. And they have a very, very strict protocol for what is safe and what they consider safe. And they are constantly updating it as we speak. Every week or two, because of the vaccinations, they're opening it up a little bit. So and then along with the state and the local health department, we will be working in line and in tandem with them for anything we do. The other thing is our production, the stage itself and the tent that will be constructed there temporarily. We'll have the building department come and look at it and check it out and make sure the fire department, fire marshal will come look at it as they have for the last 17 years and approved, and make sure everything's all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed as far as it being a safe place. The dates that we're looking at doing are basically setting up the tent. And again, because we're outdoors in the field, we're really contingent on weather, how well the weather goes with us. So to pick a date to set up the tent, let's say Monday, if it rained on Sunday, we probably wouldn't do it because the field would be wet. We wouldn't want to mess it up any more than we have to. So we would have to make sure that the ground is dry, that everything is fine, that it's not raining, and it's conducive to setting up the tent. So we've allowed a whole week for that to get by, and maybe into the next week. The following week, we would construct the stage and the set that would be put there, and then start rehearsals the following week. And that would be rehearsals for the show Honky Tonk Angels. It's a Dolly Parton song, but it's based on 3 country western singers or 3 women who have a dream to become country western singers. They both all live in very difficult situations, and somehow they decide to break the bonds and they go to Nashville. And it's based on all the great female country western singers. The entire cast is female. The orchestra, the country western band, is all women, all female. So it's an entire female cast putting this on. It's going to be very exciting. There'll be a 6-piece band that's on the stage, and they're only there once we start the productions, essentially. The shows would basically be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We are not 100% sure of the actual timing of Sunday, and that's due to weather. We're debating whether to do a 4 o'clock show, and that's largely because of the heat in the afternoon. People out there in the field, it might be too oppressive. So we're thinking maybe doing it at 7 o'clock on Sunday night, something to that effect. We're still working out the details on that, and I'll work with Steve and Jack on that as far as what we plan to do and keep you appraised of that if we move forward. What else? Let's see. We start our programming we start our shows where we actually have a public audience come, and that would be on a Saturday morning, July 10th, I believe it is. It's a Saturday, and we'll be doing our first children's show, which is You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And that's an hour show that basically runs for a straight hour. It's for young families. Everyone would be socially distanced. I'll go over this with Steve, so he's totally comfortable with how we set this up, because there are rules and regulations. I'm going to make sure everybody is in a safe and comfortable environment. The field is big enough that we have to be able to accommodate that. But I was getting back before about the weather. We anticipate losing at least 2 or 3 shows due to the weather. So we're trying to work out a schedule that will make sense and timing, but we can't do anything about it. So when we had the tent where people came into it, we could do shows in a thunderstorm, but now we can't. It's not possible. Let's see. Okay. Also, in the past, and I'm not sure we're going to do it this year, and this is something we have to work with Melody, artistic director, and working with some of the other community arts groups, is we've had a dance company come out and invite people, and we've given them the facility. We've let them use the facility to invite their people and do an hour program in the evening during the week one day. We're not sure what the schedule is on that. We'd certainly update you on that and let you know what's entailed. And generally, they're not a large audience. I think we had maybe 100 people at the last one, if that. Let's see. On August 1st is our last performance on a Sunday. We then strike and take everything away, and we should be out of the park by the 6th, or at least everything under the tent will be out of the park by the 6th, and we'll just be waiting for weather to take out the main tent if necessary. That might last another day or two. Let's see. The number of shows, basically we're doing shows on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Stoop Kids is a show we're commissioning, and this is a show based on the Stoop Kids story. I guess there's a what is the group? What is the show based on? The it's no, but it's a. Excuse me one second. I'm just trying to get the background. It's a podcast. Yes, it's 2 years of podcast reviewed by the New York Times is excellent. And we're working with the author, who, by the way, has been a performer with us in the past, so she's very familiar with the area. And she's now written a live version of her podcast. It takes place in Baltimore. It takes place really anywhere, but that's where she grew up. And it's these kids, all Black kids who grew up in Baltimore and sort of hung out on the street and on the stoop and told their stories. So we have an all Black cast. Director and creative team for the most part doing this, and they would be doing 6 performances of the show. We're also working with Horizons Group. We have always brought them to us. We're not sure if that's going to be the case this year. We're meeting with them later this week, I believe, to talk to all the executive directors. They have 6 groups, and I know New Canaan does not want to bring their students here, but the other Horizon groups have done in the past. They're planning to, I believe, come and see the show. They prefer it because they don't really have a place where they can present it. What we will do is, if we can, we will then take the show over to the Horizon show at the country school and play it and perform it for the kids there and do a writing workshop, et cetera, with them. It seems very relevant to them, and I believe it's in we're doing our part as a community to try and reach out, have some diversity in our programming. It's very challenging to do this. As you know, we don't have a big bench strength here in Connecticut, so we're working very hard to secure talented people and performers to do the show, actors, etc. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions on that, I'd like to walk through the site with you now. Would that work for everyone?
Yes.
All right. As you see here on this picture, let's go in the dead center, that yellow circle. That is that's approximating the maximum audience space we would use, okay, in that area. Probably be able to fit maybe 250 people there. We don't anticipate much more than that. Maybe a little
Can
more.
I just ask one question?
Yes.
What are we looking down at?
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is in the bottom center. You'll see that's the restored garden next to Waveney House, right there. Okay, that the cursor's on.
That's the walled-in garden?
Yes, the walled-in restored garden, right? English garden, and then the field below it is the field where the pond is on the right, down below. And what we've done is we've positioned the program to be on the left side of that field. So technically it does not interfere with any traffic or walkways or whatever. So people can come down and walk around our group. They can come down the other side. They can come across the pond and walk straight up. And so we're really trying to keep isolated, but not disturb the natural rhythm of what's going on in the park at that point. So that's the circle, that's the slope. You'll see more in pictures when we get to it. That's the tent approximate footprint of it, you'll see. And then we have behind that 2 small, like 15 by 15 or 15 by 20 tents, and that would be for a dressing room and for equipment storage or prop storage or set pieces or whatever. All open side, and we just close it up at night. And then up above, you see there's on the top, it says movie, on the right, movie quiet generator. We believe we're going to have to bring power in to run this. So We're going to bring a generator. This is used by major motion pictures. They, you know, I used to do it all the time when I was shooting commercials. You bring it out, you set it up about, 50, 60 feet away from where you need to be, and it's quiet. No one will hear it. And that would then power it's all on a little trailer. It's a footprint. We did this at Irwin Park for 3 years, and it worked out quite nice. What else? Okay. Now the other question we were discussing is ADA access. And there are two clear options, that seem to work quite well. One is on top of the screen, as you see, and that is the service road behind the powerhouse and the carriage barn. And that is where they can be dropped off, and we can have people help them or walk them. It's generally a level area, and the ADA access area would be in that top section of the circle where they would be in that area and set them up in that place, which is fine as far as seating and everything else. If they are good, if they're capable and want to go down to the front row, they're more than welcome to. But as far as easy access, not having to go downstairs, et cetera, this is the most level access. Then we have a second spot. Yeah, we can go down to, we'll come back to that in a second. Right here on the bottom, and I'll show you how it is, there's a 3-step walkway on the, I guess it's the east side of the walled garden. Has 3 steps that most people use going down into that field. We could put a ADA angled ramp in there if we wanted to temporarily, and then take it out when we leave. Very comfortable ramp, easy to walk on, etc. That's an option there. I'm not sure what we're going to do. I think this is something we work out with Steve and John and Tiger, as far as, and of course the commission. But these are the, making sure we're in compliance and stuff like that. This is you're standing in the back of the audience area, and that's where the tent would be in that general area. You can see it would go up about, I guess, goes up about 20 feet. Okay, so it's almost in scale when you see there the height of it. And you can see the pond to the right. We really do not obstruct the view of the pond and or the use of it. People can go right up along. They can walk around the whole pond if they want to. We would not prevent anyone from doing that. So this is the general area. The center of the, just to give you an idea, the center of the, if you can go back one, Jack, the center of the park is, scroll down. That tree, the big tree on the right, that is the center of that field. Okay, pretty much. So we're pretty far over there, as you can see. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, and that's here you can see the basic area where the tent would be between those 3 trees, pretty much over to the side. Now, if you look behind the tree, behind the tree and behind the tent, you see a walkway ramp there. Okay, that's the walkway from the service road. And that is something I will work out with everyone to see how it works. We would like to use that to load in, where we bring a truck and offload it and then take it away. They would roll dollies, over to the set, platforms and set pieces, whatever. We think that was probably that's the least touching the footprint. That's the least touching the grass. That's the least traffic we can do. And it's and we would, it seems to be the most logical way to go about loading in and loading out. And again, we would be very careful. Alternately, we can come up here and bring a tractor trailer there, drop off our set pieces, platforms, whatever, but then they have to be lugged all the way down the hill. Down the hill isn't as bad as up the hill. So it would be a rough strike, bringing them up there. So if at all possible. Also, while we're looking at this area, and this is something I need to discuss again, should we go forward with the powerhouse and with the carriage barn, is that we could possibly have some ADA parking spots in the evening when we do our shows, potentially when there's very little traffic going on or activities going on at the powerhouse or the carriage barn, for ADA cars between the 2 buildings, a spot for like 8. They have two dumpsters there, but there's room for like 7 or 8 cars. So that's another option, possibility, just to let you know there. Otherwise, they would drop them off. The car would go back, and then they come back and pick them up at the end of the show. Next slide. All right, here's a look from the other direction. You can get a sense of the open space there, the parking area to the right. I don't have a picture of that. But you can see how it's a straight run access. It's a paved road that was recently done 4 or 5 years ago, Steve, and or maybe longer. Time flies. But we'd go right to the end there, or people would walk, in from there on the ADA only. We would not make this a public entrance. The public entrance would be down the main stairs or down the small stairway in the where we're talking about proposed alternate ramp. Scroll again. There's an idea of what the ramp would look like. We would build it out of plywood and 2x4s, and it would be smooth, and it would meet the grade. And people got it. And it would be there for we would probably not put it in until a few days before we start our show. So it would only be after the 4th of July, probably around the 7th or 8th of July, we would put that in because we start our first show on the 10th. And then we would take it out on August 1st or August 2nd, that Monday. It would be dismantled. So it would be there for 3.5 weeks, pretty much. I guess is that the end of it there, I think, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back and address any questions one by one.
Ed, it's Rana. Couple questions. The last month's Park and Rec Commission, we were presented with the carriage barn to use the outdoor area for an event for up to 75 people, and the date was June 12th. What if anything?
It wouldn't interfere with us. It would not interfere with us.
Great.
We don't come into the park until around the 15th or 16th.
Excellent. Okay, next question was, I have a couple more, but I want to make sure I don't forget. Betty Lavostik is asking in the chat function, will the Powerhouse Theater be using the building and parking lot during the summer theater run?
Could you rephrase that again? I'm not sure.
Well, the Powerhouse Theater, which is next to the carriage barn, will they be having summer productions and things going on while you're having your summer theater?
I believe they have a camp program during the week, Monday through Friday, that would not interfere with this. I'm not sure what they've decided to do as a schedule due to COVID and whatever. At this point, I'm not aware of any programming that's going on there this summer. If there is, we would certainly work with them and coordinate it. We would have docents out there and work together. They have a maximum capacity of 100, but you can't do that in that theater with any type of protocol. So I would think maybe 20 people at the most they could get into the theater. So we're not looking at a big number of cars, other than their outdoor thing with 75 people. That might be a little different. But,
and I assume for now, I know the limit for an outdoor event is 200 with the state COVID guidelines. I know you mentioned 250. Are you just hoping that the guidelines lessen as the season moves on?
Yeah, the Yale School of Health anticipates them being lifted 100%.
Okay.
By mid to end of July. But again, nobody knows now what's going on with this. Of
course. New. Next question is actually for Tiger. Tiger, the weight of the maximum weight for that wooden bridge. I don't know, Jack, if you want to show that walkway, which is at the base of the hill, that the tent would actually be in front of it, that he may use to offload his equipment. Can that new bridge, and obviously my biggest concern is that all the money that's been sent for Anderson Pond and the plantings and the clearing, and I'm hoping that all of that isn't negated or ruined in any way with this. But Jack, I'm thinking of that, the one walkway. Yes, actually it's right there. Thank you. Tiger, can that hold the weight for the offloading, that new bridge?
I don't know. I wouldn't go on it.
Yeah, that was my one concern when you were talking.
Right, the weight of anything we'd be putting on it would be a 4x8 platform. That's 4 inches tall. That's about the heaviest weight. So that would be maybe like 60 pounds, 70 pounds, maybe 80 pounds.
I know it moves when I walk, and I'm 126 pounds. So I would only caution you that bridge is not meant, right, Tiger? I mean, it's not meant for it's meant for
pedestrian access through a bog. I wouldn't be I would be going around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other option then would be to come across the stone bridge to the other side of the pond.
Correct.
And that what we do is we would just bring things. We'd probably bring a truck, pickup truck or something right over the bridge there, park it, and then carry stuff over.
And I know, I'm not sure if Caroline's still on. I know in your presentation of your plan, and Ed, you were probably on for that, that we did approve for her to, you know, fully fund and fully put into place some new plantings, which I wouldn't recommend if there's going to be audiences through this period. Caroline, are some of your new plantings, now that Jack has the screen and the mouse, are they going in that area where his tent would be, or no?
They'd be going right near the raised walkway. So that's pretty close to like the generator and some of those backstage tents.
That's the terraced area. If we can go back to that picture, Jack, go forward a couple pictures when we're looking at it from, yeah, keep going. Keep going, yeah. There, okay, keep going. I think there's another, okay, right there. Come back one. Right there. So you're talking about above the stone wall?
No, I'm talking about down by the pond.
Oh, down by the pond, I'm sorry.
We're doing a lot of planting around the pond. We just got
Okay.
approval to do that.
Right there, correct?
No, over, north of that. The top of the pond, where the walkway you were just talking about, they couldn't handle all the equipment.
Okay.
All the planting is going to go in there.
Okay.
A
So
lot.
with that, Ed, were there, forgive me, Jack and Ed, were there other locations you looked at other than this? Just thinking we just as a commission approve the plantings, and I would hate to see hundreds of thousands of dollars be.
No, when do they plan to do the plantings?
Soon.
All right, so
May.
before June, July 15th, before June 15th, I take it.
In May, hopefully we would start.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. If it was possible to hold it for a month, that would be great, once we're set up and stuff. But again, if not, we would work around it. We would certainly respect anything that's done. It's just going to make it a nicer environment. That's all. So we'll work with you on that. I'll sit down with you, we'll take a walk the space and understand what it is that you're doing. Ideally, we would be able to walk between this stuff. It's not going to be like a little forest, right?
And isn't it going to be behind these? I thought it was going to be over here, but isn't it going to be behind these trees?
Yes. Mhm.
All right.
In the tent. Okay, so
Behind
the
the
tent
tent area, yeah, and
Yeah.
going on the path.
Exactly.
so the tent is in front of those trees.
Yeah.
And what we would want to set up and behind it, which would be about
Put it
maybe
over
20
here.
feet behind the tree, is 2 small tents. Possibly, that would be from the tree back about 15 feet. Are you going to be closer to the pond's edge?
Okay, see where you have the sign that says movie quiet generator? It's
Yeah.
all up in there.
Oh, if that's where it is, not a problem. Not a problem at all.
It's
That's-
along the walkway, the wood walkway we were just talking about.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the tent itself is going to be in front of those trees. And then I don't believe that these are going to be conflicting, but if they were, Ed, couldn't you put them over here to the side?
Yeah, we can move things over. What we're trying to do is be as discreet as we can with our location for everyone. So when people look, they see an exciting little amphitheater, that's what they focus on. But yes, we have flexibility where that generator goes. That's not an issue.
Yeah, I imagine that everything except for the present, the tent that they're going to do the performance in could be conscious of those plants. And I would understand that you'd want to get those planted as soon as possible because it's spring, So I would imagine that as long as he can have that.
We also just reseeded that whole lawn. And I mean, what kind of damage are we going to have on the grass?
The grass under the tent will likely all be gone, and we would reseed it again. And then we did this at the library. It took about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess about 3 weeks for it to come back.
Well, how about where the people sit? Is it going to be?
Well, where the people sit, I mean,
Yeah, that's-
I don't anticipate it, them being that damaged because but if there is any, we would throw seed down and I'd work with John and make sure we're respectful.
Yeah, but that's also out of the area.
And Jack, just for conversation purposes, the other location you looked at, and Francesca, you're next for a question. Thank you.
Yeah, so we also looked at Lapham This would be one spot right behind Lapham. This here would be the preferred location. Lapham was not as open, and the terrain was not as ideal as this, and also, I mean, the ability of having an ADA access. This is almost, this is pretty ideal location, So in comparison of the two, we thought this one was better. Of course, we're here for approval, or Ed's here for approval, but yeah, that's
Okay.
ultimately Lapham, and I could pull it up on Google Maps right here, but you would see that it's not as open. It's not as open.
The other reason why I did not include that in this presentation, other than that alternative spot that this could happen in, is we were told by the management at Lapham that they were going to be using that field for programming all summer long.
Wait,
I tried to ask them when, what months, whatever, and I was told all summer long, and that there's no way a tent can be put there because it would interfere with what they're doing. So rather than compete or conflict, and then the other aspect, which Steve and I have discussed, and you, Jack's, discussed, is that we've got a baseball field, right behind the audience. So that's a little bit of a challenge too. Even though we start our shows at 8 o'clock, I believe what time do the baseball games generally stop in that area?
Around 7:30, 7:45.
Yeah, 7:30, 7:45. Yeah. And then, and I think it would probably clear out parking in time for us to be able to bring people in too. There'd be that transition of cars coming in and going out. So I think the parking would be fine there, but it has its quirks, that area. I mean, I'd be happy to go there.
The turf field is used extensively through the month of July and at nighttime. So a lot of people will go bring kids to the turf field, utilize the Lapham parking. So there'd be a competition with the turf field use.
Yeah, and what we've experienced in the past, as the athletic program got closer and closer to us, it got louder and louder and started to interfere with, with the night, and the weekends, with the tournaments and stuff like that, were very challenging for us to put on shows and find parking in the high school out there, because even though we would block off an area, they would just take the spots anyway. So, we're not confrontational, this is a public place. Everyone's invited to, can do what they want, but it was too challenging for us to continue that in that location.
Thank you. Francesca, go ahead.
Well, my question was also about what other sites. I'm concerned about the slope. Anybody who is slightly off balance, the older people and the senior citizens love going to these performances. I would really worry about even just walking down the slope. And those steps that you use to go back to the sledding hill, those are treacherous steps. And then the fact that we just cleared this and it's been reseeded, and all that's gone into and is still going into the pond makes me shy away from the idea. I had a couple of questions. The tent and any of the equipment, would it be visible for a wedding that's going on at Waveney House?
Yeah, we asked that. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if there are any weddings happening at that time.
Yeah, we didn't know of any that were currently scheduled.
Weddings going on at Waveney through the summer? None?
Steve?
I don't have any weddings in July. My first wedding is the first weekend in August. We have one in June, and July is pretty empty because of COVID. People didn't book because they weren't sure what the capacities were going to be put out. So,
yep.
Okay. And then back to, as Betty Lavostik brought up, I am also concerned for the powerhouse and the carriage barn. The carriage barn has events and art shows all the time. I don't know what their schedule is, but I would defer to them first.
Are there any other questions from anyone else on the commission?
I I could show you another view of that, of, the planting and, real quickly, if that's all right.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd also like to talk a little bit more about Lapham because Lapham sounds like a great alternative.
Okay, so here was the material that we looked at in earlier in our conversation. All right.
Yep.
So right here along the walkway, as you can see, and here's some trees. So here's those trees. Up here is where the performance tent would be, not down here. All right.
That's correct.
Yep. So, and then I could show you, guess we're going to go to my navigating abilities. Here we go. As you can see, Lapham, you can't see the terrain here, but you're talking about elderly and all that. As you can even tell from looking at this picture, access is not as friendly. And it's not as open and as of a space. We did talk to Steve about this structure right here that's possibly going to be removed. But still, it's not as open of a space.
No, not the gazebo. There were just some outcropping plants.
Yeah,
right
there was something in the middle. Oh, these here.
That's
plants.
gotta go. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
would
these.
be transplanted.
Yeah, these were going to be transplanted anyway. But these are in the middle here. So disregard that in the picture here, it wouldn't be there. But still, you can see that access to this would not be as friendly to the elderly as you mentioned earlier.
I don't understand why not, because it's,
Well,
you
I
come
mean,
here.
you could go via here, or you could come
Right.
down from here. There's a slope right here. Yeah.
Let me
And
ask.
right here would be the tent, right? They would be facing this way, looking up this way.
Jack, Francesca, may I ask you a favor, Jack, just for argument's sakes, while you have the map and the maneuvering?
Yep.
Can you go over to the paddle hut and the grass in front of the paddle hut? How big is that area?
Sorry.
You're good. So back out. And then you see the pool and the parking lot in front of the pool. It's where the green dot is.
Right here?
Spencer's Run. Right, keep moving further down, I guess. Yeah, now you want to move in front of the bottom of the screen, so move up.
Sorry.
Sorry, I know it's so hard. So is that not enough area there?
No.
I don't think we can fit the tent in there. No audience, just the tent. And I'm not sure, I guess the parking would be fine, but there would be no place for the audience.
I see your problem. And that field right there, Steve, is used to the right, the soccer field to the right is used for cross-country running in the summer? And soccer games?
You could do something in that field area there. If that's a possibility.
The reason I think that field is amazing, and Jack and Francesca, you've been on it, there's no slope. The parking near the paddle huts and that area there, and the new parking area with the softball bathrooms, the dirt lot there. I don't know, Ed, I hate to skew you and make you and Jack do additional work, but I certainly think the park is big enough for us to assist the summer theater. I think our hesitancy is so much work has gone into the base of that Waveney Pond, and I hate to see it, in any way harmed or move us backwards. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, not just a few thousand. And I think we're just so dedicated to it. So if we could in any way, Jack and Ed, just maybe, and Steve Benko, just look at that spot where his cursor is. I think it's beautiful. It then makes people curious. It then gives you a wider audience. It's then an ability to sell more tickets. I love that it's in Waveney Park, one more function in that beautiful park. So if you're willing to take a chance and put it there, and Steve, it would work. And John,
you'd have to go along the roadway back. That Jack moves his cursor back towards that lower softball field, the one back up.
somewhere in the middle.
No, softball field over here along the road, along the pool road. There's a softball field right there.
Sorry, along
Yes.
over here.
You'd have to put the tent back there because you can't. They play softball out here. You can reach that area with the softball.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering. I mean, are there games going on?
Well, you'd have to go along the road here, along the side here. Yeah, right where your marker is now. That's where you probably have to go there.
That's not a bad spot. You're out of the way. Would you guys mind revisiting this? Is that something the commission, I mean, we can certainly take a vote, Jack, if you'd like, for the Waveney Hill location. I don't speak for the entire commission. That's why we're a commission. We should.
Yep.
My personal recommendation would be that you look at another location.
I do know that we need to, and Ed, please speak, please elaborate on this, but I know that you need to also present to the buildings department
And the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not the last stop. So
could we then potentially put forth a recommendation this evening for a location to be agreed upon in this field with, Steve Banko's guidance, Jack, yours, Ed, yours? Could we maybe put forth that kind of recommendation? Would you be amenable to that, Ed?
I don't find your ending is viable.
You're going in and out.
It can be used. I'm sorry. My only fear is that we're going to be competing with sports right there. And we've done that in the past, and sometimes it's been challenging. We have shows on Saturdays and Sunday mornings, and there will be baseball games going on, right? Correct?
No, if you put, there's a curve in the road there. There's the big pine tree. You put the tent back by that big pine tree, and the audience can sit back towards the other softball field. You wouldn't have a problem. We don't play men's softball on weekends, and most of the softball games are done by 7:30 at night.
And when we're doing this in the middle of July, are there games being played on?
There may be games on top of the field. That's the only problem.
Up there on top, yeah, that's far enough away.
Yeah.
So you're saying right here, right?
No,
Steve?
there may be games at Copple Field, so I can't have a tent out there. I'm saying put the tent back here where the pine tree is.
Okay.
Way down, Jack, at
Go down, Jack.
oh, yep. The pine tree that the kids hang off of, that
Big
one,
Pine tree right here, this big pine tree right for the curb. See the curb in the walkway? The walkway
Yeah.
comes to the curb.
right there.
Put the
Right
tent
there.
by the big tree there. It would be out of the way of the men's softball, and your audience would be back in that other area there.
Yep. Is
And
this too?
Can we move further? Could we move a little bit further away from the ball field, like maybe another 50 feet or 100
Sure,
feet?
we could look at it. That might work.
Like right in here, right? Like right where
I would-
his
I
that
would
would be the
back
audience
towards-
over there,
I
right?
go back towards the walkway more. I'd keep it back towards the walkway. I wouldn't go out to the big field there.
Oh, yeah,
back-
yeah. The tent could be towards the middle of the field or off to the side if you want. We just angle it maybe diagonal from the south, from the
I just
bottom
don't
right
want the-
corner to the middle.
I don't want the tent to be an eyesore in the park. That's the only problem. I'm trying to hide it someplace so doesn't stick out. You drive in the main park and you see a big tent stick.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting design.
Yeah, but I understand.
Jack, Ed, would you be amenable to someone on the commission doing a motion then, so we don't delay your approval
Well, Ed,
process?
if you're up for this, I'll make a motion, but
Ron, I just have one more thing.
If for some reason this doesn't work, would we still have opportunity to do the the slope? Or is that
if this doesn't pass,
if this doesn't work? Yeah.
if this,
I think we could vote for it. It would be up to the commission and someone to make a motion for that. So if someone had a motion for that location near the Anderson Pond, then certainly we would have to vote on it.
Yeah, the reason I'm just a little bit hesitant or giving a tiniest bit of pushback is that we need to start our pre-production and planning. There's a completely different setup if we're on level ground with the audience at level than if we're on a sloped area. However, not enough to defer a great performance or a great location. So we will try and make this field work as much as we can. However, I'd like to revisit the other side if there's an issue.
Okay, we'll revisit.
Okay.
all right, so Ed, you're saying you're okay with this field right here?
I think so.
All right, so what is this field called?
That's the athletic field. The
All right.
softball field. Athletic field.
So I'm going to make a motion that this summer's performance is played right here in the athletic field. If anybody will second.
Do we have
I
a
think you
second?
got, Jack, I think you gotta have it over towards that.
I just have one thing to say.
All right. Go ahead.
I know that they are having the fireworks this year and that people do park in these fields. I'm not sure when it would be, the tent would be put in, so that may affect the parking for the fireworks.
The tent itself takes up about a 60 by 100 foot footprint. And the two tents behind it would take up like another like 15 by 20 by 2, the other 500 feet. So we're looking at about maybe 1,000 square feet that we would rope off. And then you could park all around it everywhere else because that's all audience area. The only area we're concerned with is the actual tent, physical tent, and in that space.
I was just throwing it out there as
No,
a, just
that's
to remind
important.
everyone.
It's a good
Yeah, but
point.
we're up.
And I wonder too, how many people will be able to go to fireworks? Maybe it's first come, first served tickets at 50% capacity, but that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't know. We're told we
Yeah.
could plan. That's about it. They haven't given us it. Right now, with the capacities the state has, we can't do it.
So maybe, Jack, we go with your motion and leave open, the ability to come back to the commission, because all that means is it's a vote to the commission. And so with you putting forth that motion for the athletic field in the bottom, say, left-hand area, if we could stay near the big tree, as Steve mentioned, I know you gave a motion, and I saw Francesca second the motion. Could I just get, I'm gonna stop sharing, Jack, if you don't mind your screen, just so I can-
Sorry.
That's quite all right. Just so
There
I
you
can see all those in favor of that location in the athletic field. I just need a show of hands for B. Thank you. And then anyone opposed to that location? All right, I think that was enough for that location. Ed, you are good to go. For that location, I would highly suggest you meet with Jack and Steve again and John to make sure you're good on that. And we hope this is helpful.
One quick question before we end. Tiger, would you need to be involved in this choice at all, or is it pretty black and white to you?
John's will be there. Yeah, I have all faith in John and his
Okay,
decision.
great.
So
Okay, great. All right, so we'll set up a time with Jack, John, and Steve. All right.
Excellent.
Great.
All right,
Donna,
Steve.
can you explain the vote to me?
Oh, yes. So we'll do it one more time. So it was a motion for the summer theater to use the bottom left-hand corner near the largest tree, which is very near the sidewalk and the paddle hut on the opposite side of that sidewalk there.
Yeah.
And the motion was made by Jack Hawkins. It was seconded by Francesca. All those were in favor. I think Laura Costigan abstained, right, Laura? I did not see your hand go up. So other than Laura, we had everyone for it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, B.
All right.
In the southwest corner of this field, basically.
Yes, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Better way to describe it.
All right.
Much better.
I'll
Thank
leave
you, Ed.
everyone
Good
now.
luck.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commission. Thank you, Jack Hawkins. Our next item on the agenda is an update on the pickleball. Tiger Man, you are up.
all right, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. The Board of Selectmen at their last meeting approved a contract with Hinding Tennis to install 5 pickleball courts in the location that we had talked about last time, as well as a new backboard, playing backboard. We are working right now with our legal counsel on the finalization of the contract. That should happen by the end of the week, and then you will be good to go. There is the strands, the wire strands that go in for the stressed concrete slab that they're putting in is a special order. But we're hoping that he's already been on top of it. He knows about it, and he knows that he's been awarded the contract, and we're working through the paperwork. So he's working through material procurement, and we're hoping for July, end of June, mid-July. I don't want to promise anything too early, but that's our goal right now.
That's fantastic. Steve Haberstraw, I know you played a big part in helping us get the bids and the thought. Do you have any questions here at the end? I'm assuming you don't. No. Okay. Thanks so much. Thank you, Tiger. We're thrilled. Anybody else? I don't think we have questions.
We're making plans to look at it. I think I think we'll probably do something like do with tennis. You probably would sell a permit. I'll bring it back to the commission in May. Probably would sell a permit to play pickleball. We also would use our reservation system we have for paddle and tennis. Because I think it's key that you have reservations for the course. Otherwise, you're gonna have people from all over Fairfield County taking the course over.
I agree, Steve. That's brilliant news. That's fantastic. Thank you. We look forward to that in May. I'll make sure make a note to have that down there along with the update on the dog waste stations. Thank you so much. So I always have Steve give his update before John. So tonight we're going to mix it up. So let's do John Howe on the Park Superintendent's report. You're up, John.
Wasn't expecting that, so it took me a minute to unmute.
Making sure everyone's still awake.
Well, I'm going to start with probably the best news for most people is Putnam Tennis, the people that are resurfacing the clay courts down at Mead Park, have started already. Now, with the weather forecast, they're going to probably be shut down for the rest of the week, but they've started scraping the material and picking it off, and their intent is to stay until they're done. So with that said, this time of year, our only issue is the fact that once they're done, we need to give them some time to be rolled and firmed up. So it's not like they finish tomorrow, we can open tomorrow. That's all I'm saying. But this is earlier than I think we've ever seen them here. So I'm very happy with that. Other than that, we're getting fields open. We've gone from being in a drought to getting a lot of rain. It doesn't seem like a lot because it's been coming overnight, but it's been affecting us with baseball field openings and even our grass fields. We've been delayed a little bit on some of them. We have them all marked out, and hopefully if the weather holds, we'll have the last few soccer goals put out at Waveney. And, other than that, we've turned on the aerators for the pond. We filled the fountain today. Todd filled the fountain. We got to work on the pump still, but we're making good progress. It's been a good spring so far.
That's great. Thank you, Todd. Any questions for John? That's great news.
Hey, Ronna, it's George. Just a quick comment. A request has been made by the Land Trust Bristow Sanctuary to see if we can improve a pathway from Mead Park into Bristow Sanctuary. I don't know. I thought Chris was on the this call earlier. I don't know if he's still on or not, but a request is made to sort of make it a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more welcoming, kind of a pathway. Nothing elaborate, nothing, requiring asphalt or anything of that nature. But Chris had talked to me about this a couple of weeks ago. And obviously the Bristow Sanctuary is kind of a new project for the town, and anything we can do to make it a little bit more welcoming, I think would be great. Chris, are you on the call?
I think he dropped off. I don't see him on, George.
Okay. One comment.
Go ahead.
The access road that goes down to the access pathway, that's basically John's access to get his mowers down to Gamble Field so he can mow the field. That they did fix the whole pathway going up the hill over to Bristow. And I don't know what else you want to do on that roadway, but it's basically people access the baseball field. That's our baseball field access. I know when they did the work in the sanctuary this winter, a lot of damage was done to that roadway by the heavy trucks going up to Bristow. So they bought equipment in that way and stuff. So they should have fixed that when they left. That was their responsibility. It's messed up.
Whose responsibility?
I think the contractor for Bristow bought his equipment, his machinery equipment down that pathway and up the hill to Bristow to get into Bristow to redo the back path at Bristow. So I think any damage to that pathway that belongs to the Bristow. The Tiger.
I don't think, Steve, I don't think that's his comment. He doesn't like the material that's there and the embankment. The embankment's a little raw. So we told Chris that we would look at, possibly trying to stabilize that embankment or make it a little bit more, I guess, aesthetically pleasing as you come in. The material itself on the drive, as you mentioned, it's a little bit more difficult. We can try to soften it a little bit, make it a little bit more friendlier on the feet. But I think its main concern is just the fact that it looks a little raw. On the embankment, the filter fabric you can see, or the fabric that's there to stabilize, is a little bit.
That's true. Kids would toss the rocks off the filter fabric.
Yeah, if anything can be done to look at who would have ownership of this one, would it be John or Tucker?
Well, it's John and I are one and the same, so it would be us together. But I have John and I and my engineering staff have walked it, and we're, trying to determine what we could actually do there.
Okay.
And then we'll go forward at
Fair
that.
enough.
All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Great. John, I think that was the only question. I don't see any other hands up. Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda, Steve Banco, the rec director's report, please.
Things are getting busy, as John mentioned. Fields are opening up. We'll start our youth soccer program this Saturday. They'll play Saturday mornings. We have about 180 kids signed up right now for our program. The good news is that they're working on the Mead Park tennis courts, and we're hoping that first week in May, by the first week in May, the courts will be open. We have our adult and youth clinics signed up. We've got almost 400 people signed up for our spring tennis courts, which is a record. So it's between the adults and the youth, I think we have 123 adults signed up and almost 300 youth signed up for youth tennis lessons. So that's for spring session. That's a record for us. We also have Steve Dayton's running a girls flag football program one afternoon a week. We've got about 20 girls signed up for that. Our men's softball league will begin play on Monday night, weather permitting. We had a drive-by with the Easter Bunny back on March 27th, and we had over 100 cars come through, and we had people stop, took pictures of the Easter Bunny, and the kids got a goodie bag, and that really went well. We opened up a spring paddle clinic for ladies, and we have 42 ladies signed up for spring paddle. What we've done with paddle tennis, we've extended the permits through the 31st of July. The reservation system is open, so people can make reservations, and it's on an honor system. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings, we have an attendant on duty at the lodge to have the lodge open for bathrooms, and because we have a men's league and a men's team and a women's team are playing in a Fairfield County League on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, and Thursday evenings we got a lot of players who want to play evening paddle. So the lights are available, but we'll have an attendant on duty 3 nights a week to help with those outside teams. We put the tennis permits on sale. We put our pool passes on sale, and they've been on sale for about 10 days. We've already sold 165 family memberships, and another 15 seniors, and another 20 individual passes. So people are looking forward to the pool season. Again, we're waiting for the state to come out. They're supposed to make an announcement towards the end of next week of what their plans are for the summer, whether they're going to expand capacities and everything else. So everybody's anxiously waiting to see what the DECD and the Department of Health are going to do for the summer activities. It'll affect our summer concerts. We're making plans for a concert, but right now, under the guidelines that the state gave us, it's a little difficult to run a concert. So we're hoping that they'll ease up on the restrictions a little bit so we can do things. So we're working that way, and we're making plans for summer programs. We're taking registration for day camps and tennis and other things for the summer. So we're looking forward to a good, busy summer. As I mentioned earlier, the governor gave us permission to make plans for the Family Fourth. The committee has met. We've contracted with the fireworks company. We just have to see what kind of capacity that the state's going to give us before we can move forward on that. So we should know something by the end of April, first week in May, on what the state's going to do. So, but other than that, programs are going very well. We're planning on having our cross country races again, and we'll have swim lessons at the pool. We'll have a swim and dive team. Again, the Fairfield County Swim League is waiting to see what the state's going to do for the regulations and whether they can do in-person meets or we'll do the virtual meets like last year. So everything is still waiting to see what the state does. So that, we're ready to go. And we did have to do an emergency repair in the tennis courts at the high school. The paint was peeling up and made it dangerous for some of the players playing. So now the company came in on Tuesday and Monday and Tuesday. They prepped the area. They patched all the other bad areas with paint and peeled up. So you may see some different color paint patches, but the courts are safe to play on. So that was good. Other than that, I think and then Tiger could probably comment, the contractor for the new parking lot that'll service the water tower fields and girls softball field. They're probably almost ready for paving. I assume paving may take place next week, but they've got the base surface down. It's all the curbing is in. And so that'll be exciting when that gets off. So hopefully by the 1st of May, we'll have that parking.
That's great.
Correct. That's correct, Steve. Thanks.
That's excellent. And that's 80 spaces, correct?
Oh, I believe it's more than that.
74.
84? I thought it was
74.
84. Thank you, Steve. That's great. That's going to be a nice addition for, the
Yeah.
fields and watching games and activities. Thank you. And hats off to Steve Dayton and yourself, Steve Benko, for the paddle extending its season. You guys do such a good program, and obviously it's that popular that it warranted extending the season. So thank you. Hats off to both of you. Next is a chairman's report. Oh, I'm sorry, Carl, go ahead.
Yep. For the tennis permits, what does that cover? Does that cover Mead only, or is that Mead and high school?
Okay, what we're going to do, the tennis permit we're selling covers Mead Park only. We're going to do the same thing we did last summer for the high school, where you go on, you send an email to Steve, he'll give you your username, and you make your own password, and you can make a reservation for the high school courts. We will have an attendant on duty starting this weekend. Be on Saturday and Sunday, and we have attendant doing weekends through Memorial Day, and then starting Saturday, June 5th, we'll have a attendant on duty 7 days a week, and you can make reservations from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So the attendant will be there to put people in. So there's no charge for the high school courts like they did last year. So that'll be good.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. I think the only thing I have and could say at this point with such a long agenda is thank you to everyone for the hard work from, the town employees and Stephen Tiger and John and Steve Dayton. I could go on and on. I think what you guys do behind the scenes, is amazing and get done. So I appreciate all that hard work, Fields Committee, everybody, Waveney Park Conservancy, everything that gets done. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So it's a long night. So I'm going to move quickly to the committee reports. And first up is the ice rink. There was a subcommittee formed. There was a request made for the Park and Rec Commission to form a subcommittee to put forth to the commission for a vote. Ultimately, a suggested location for the ice rink. That subcommittee has Jake Granito, and it also has Hank and Francesca. I'll let, I think, Jake, you'll be speaking this evening, correct?
I guess, thanks.
All right, Mike is yours.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. What the subcommittee and I have done is we've gone out with Steve, Tiger, John, and we've looked at locations that we think that a rink would be good. We've had 3 locations that we really looked at in depth, and what we've come up with is one location that we really feel is best suited for the town, and it's good for it's a good location in general. And that location is it's going to be the Waveney up by the softball fields where the bathrooms are in the parking lot there. Why we think that location is better than the other ones is we already have the bathrooms and the building there. There's already power and a transformer set in place, and the water is already to the area as well. Thanks, Tiger. As you can see,
This is the area right here.
that's the area right there where we're proposing to put the rink. The area is very large. Tiger's guys are working on getting pricing to repave the area. When we looked at the location in person, we discussed, and Tiger, you can talk more about this if you want, but we discussed cutting back on some of the pitch a little bit in areas to create a more level space for the rink, and the paving contractor did not see an issue with it, and we don't either. This area is also good because you have the grass fields behind it. The bathrooms are right there. There's still plenty of parking. We can bring in food trucks if that would just be an easier option than getting a shed with and pulling a food permit and dealing with the health department. So, this is a great area. We think that this is a good location. The power's already there, the water's there, and the bathrooms are there. Rona, do you want me to open it up to questions, or Tiger, do you have anything, or?
No, I think you covered it.
Yes, I know that there was one question in the chat that popped up first, maybe before. I
Sorry.
don't know if you're able to see it. I'm happy to read it to you.
I see it now.
Okay,
Um,
it's from Rita Bettino.
Yep. For the rink, is there any concern regarding wind for the proposed area? The only, from the rink perspective, no, we don't, there's no concern with the wind for the rink. The only thing that people would be concerned about would be cold temperatures. The tent that we would rent would be driven into an area, so that I'm not worried about a tent, and it would be enclosed as well. I don't see any issues with wind. But yeah, I mean, that's for that location. I don't see any issues in general, actually, with the ice rink.
Thank you.
Everyone-
As far as the commission, or a set of hands, anyone else have a comment or question? Francesca?
Go ahead, George. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Francesca, then George. Oh, you need to unmute, Francesca.
Thank you, Rana. My question is, what are the hours that this would run? Would there be need for light use in the evening? 'Cause-
So yeah, we have, we don't actually have hours or any of that really nailed down yet, but I've come up with a cut sheet, so to speak, of rink cost, and yeah, we would have to get some temporary lighting. You could do two options. You could do temporary lighting, like the soccer fields do, which would just be a movable light tower, like you see at Waveney for the fireworks and all that. They run off diesel. They're very bright. Or you could actually hook, get electric light towers as well, and just hook them into the transformer that's already there as well. Like we will be doing, like you'll do with your condenser and chiller and stuff like that. So you will need lighting just based on the winter and how dark it gets. But yeah.
I'm just asking because I think it's a sundown park, isn't it? Sunrise, sundown. People are supposed to be out of there after dark. So I guess the rule is going to change somewhat for this, or what?
The rule's already been changed. So you already have lights in the girls softball field. You have lights in the paddle tennis court. So we have events at Waveney House to go 11 o'clock at night. So that the sunrise sunsets only pertains to walking the trails and whatever. But because you have lights in the fields and whatever, that's all changed.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Francesca.
Jake?
Yes, sir, George.
First, I think this is a great selection in terms of location. My question is, do we have any idea what the startup costs will be and what the operating costs will be for a given season? This question, I understand, would be, it's a bit premature, might be a bit premature. And if the function tonight is just to say, yes, we like this location, fine. And then we can go back to the budget at a later point. But do you have any idea what the numbers might be?
So I mean, this meeting is just to kind of nail down the location.
Okay.
As far as your operating costs, the biggest cost that you'll see in any type of new construction will be bringing in 3-phase 480 volt power. It can cost anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000 to bring in power of that size and magnitude. So this location's great because it's already there. Just needs a little bit of a tune-up, so to say, to get it ready for us. But I think we're a little bit far away for having a real ballpark number for a startup.
Okay.
And obviously your first year is going to be your most expensive year. As it is with anything, just buying materials, and kind of just feeling your way through the whole process.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Jake, there's a question in chat again from Kara Smith.
I'll open it, sorry. Is this location scalable in size if there's interest to expand a mini rink full size? So this location specifically is suitable for the rink that we have size wise. This is not a full size rink. Full size rink is 85 feet by 200 feet. This is, I believe, 60 feet by 120 feet. This location, I don't think we would want to use it for a full-size rink in future. I think it's good for a mini rink and the temporary use for now. I think we need to continue to look for a good location for a future rink if there ever is one.
Thank you, Jake. Are there any other questions from the commission or looking for hands? Okay, so Jake, are we to understand that you would like to make have someone put forth or yourself put forth a motion for the suggested location of the ice rink for the Waveney parking lot, with the thought that Tiger would be repaving and, you know, getting better slope on that and renovating or winterizing the restrooms potentially? Would you like to make that motion?
I would, yes, please.
Is there anyone who would like to make a second motion? Laura, thank you. George, sorry, Laura beat you by half a second. All those in favor? I see everyone. Let me go. And any opposed? B, it looks like there was everyone voted for it. I think Jean Goodman abstained. Thank you so much, Jake. Appreciate the help. I'm sure this will continue, and just one more benefit to Waveney Park. And I think continuing to sell the community how an ice rink could really benefit the residents is a no-brainer. I think the hard work that both Tom O'Day and Jean Goodman have put forth thus far will hopefully eventually put a permanent ice rink in our town for our kids, for our families, for everyone to enjoy. So I appreciate the hard work on everybody's front and all the varying opinions. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Last night on the agenda tonight, the Kiwanis Park Subcommittee. I'm assuming one of you will give a little bit of background of how we formed the subcommittee, maybe not how, but why. So I'm not sure, Hank or Francesca or Carl, who would like to start. Hank, all yours. You'll just need to unmute.
Good evening, everybody. Listen, the Kiwanis Park Committee is focused on 3 initiatives, and due to the lateness of the hour, if you don't mind, I'm going to run through the first initiatives pretty quickly. The third initiative, at least tonight, we may want to have some more detail. And our first initiative is to encourage community support for Kiwanis Park. And I've said this before, we have just been heartened by the number of people in town who just actively shown an interest in Kiwanis Park and believe that Kiwanis Park can really add value to the town. I'm just going to mention a couple of names: Betty Lavostik, Lauren Motley, Robin Fletcher, Angelo Carbone, and just a lot of other people who I'm not mentioning, but who have really been very, very helpful. And we want to encourage that interest. We have a database of close to 30 people who wish to remain informed about Kiwanis Park and what we're doing. There's a Friends of Kiwanis Park Facebook page, as you may know, which was put up and maintained independently, and that Facebook page has 50 members. And, we just feel that this is a very, powerful force for us, and we should encourage it. The second of the three initiatives that we're looking at is we want to really add value to Kiwanis Park by supplementing its existing activities with new activities and programs. On April 8th, we held a Zoom meeting on this topic with Carl and Francesca from our committee, and with Steve Benko and Bill Kapp and Steve Dayton, and also a number of town residents who gave us some very good ideas. In fact, the meeting generated 25 ideas that the group felt should be strongly considered. These are activities and programs that we would like to add to Kiwanis Park, not all 25, but just activities and programs that add to the park, so it becomes even more valuable to the town. And so at this point, my understanding is Steve Dayton and Bill Kapp will, lead the way in trying to figure out, okay, which of these programs are really doable, which of these activities are doable, and where they might fit to a calendar in the latter part of this year and also into 2022. We have to work, they have to work. We all have to work within the confines of the fact that there's really no funding for the second half of this year. And we may have to find alternative funding for 2022. Bill Kapp proposed that we really maybe members of the town and town residents, and as well as that committee, set up a Kiwanis Events Committee. I think that's a good idea. We'll look at that further. Now I'm going to get on to the third, our third initiative, and and I have to say we all agree that Tiger, Steve, and John just do an exceptional job with the parks. Sometimes with resource constraints, they just do a great job. But our third initiative as this committee is to really act as the eyes and ears for the town on a continual basis, and to just to propose enhancements and really help the town in its efforts to maintain a high level of maintenance. And I'd like to now hand off to Carl, and I think Carl is also going to be including Francesca in his presentation. So Carl, could you please take the mic?
Sure, will do. Thanks, Hank. I'm going to share my screen with you all if I can. Hopefully this will work for you all. See my screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. So these are notes from a walkthrough that I took with Francesca and some of the neighbors of the park back on February 28th. As Hank mentioned, we're looking to be the eyes and ears of the park, and who better to help us there than the people who live nearby, those who frequent the park regularly. And we arranged to meet up with anybody who wanted to join us on a very grim, cold, bitter February afternoon to take a look through the park and get out what they're seeing in the park. And I was really quite gladdened by the turnout on that. I'd like to thank the neighbors for showing us around. I had Robin Fletcher, Aaron Hansen, Lavastic, and Angelo Sabone join us, and Francesca and myself were there as well. It was nice to see it, even though it was kind of off season for Kiwanis. And one thing I'd like to say before I start is, February 28th is a pretty grim time to see any property in this part of the world. I understand, that everything's not going to be completely shipshape at that time of year. Silly, I wouldn't want people having a look at my garden back in late February. we want to get a good sense of what goes on there year round, because the park is clearly not just about the beach and the pool and the pavilion. And actually, we're not going to touch on those items today. The park is used for far more than that. We want to make sure that it's being looked at year round, rather than just being, discussions about the pool when we have that season come up. So got a few slides here just to take you through some photographs and some observations, many things that were pointed out to us by the neighbors. The first is to start off with some good news, the playground fencing. This has pointed out how bad shape the playground fencing is, and that's been in the capital budget for a while, and I understand that is now going to be repaired and replaced. You can see why here, right? This is clearly not working here as a fence. It's being held together with some ties here. It's certainly seen better days. I remember my kids when they were much younger leaping across this fence many a time, and I think it's been fairly beaten up. So I understand that fencing is being replaced. That is in this year's capital budget, I also understand from Stephen John that purchase order has been sent to the contractor, and we do expect that work to commence in the next week or so. So this fence here, which has been showing some signs of wear and tear, is about to be replaced. Next thing that neighbors pointed out were these playground trees. This was a concern that was voiced by a few here. There are white pines in the playground. They're certainly kind of supplemental to the playground equipment, I should imagine, for climbing up and around in. There was talk of those trees frequently using limbs, and there was concern about that being a safety issue. Certainly one of the things that I had not noticed when I stayed the kids there, but a little shocking to me was the fact that you got this big utility pole running right through that as well. So I wonder if there's any thought ever been put on the state of these trees in the playground. Who takes responsibility for looking at those and making sure that those trees are safe?
So the tree warden has gone through and he's safety pruned them. My personal feeling is it's time to take those trees down and replant with maybe some shade trees, but that's John's personal view.
Okay. I mean, these trees, I imagine they've been there, very, very long time, and we've never planted in there, right?
They were there before the playground was installed.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's something that we want to think about is some different trees in that playground, maybe something that's a little bit more suitable for that area. And that was a concern that was voiced by many.
I asked the tree warden to take a look at it again, but he's reluctant to take down a tree without a planting plan or something for, to go back in its place. So that needs to be developed before he'll consider removal.
Can I interject? Is it possible just to cut the lower limbs? Because it's wonderful, the shade that they offer.
I can ask him to take a look at that too, to see if it could be limbed up, but he has care and control of all trees in whole or in part on town properties and along the right of way. So, but I'll ask him again to take a look.
Thanks, Tiger.
You're welcome.
To develop a planting program, is that with the tree warden? How does one go about starting something like that up?
Well, it's a planting plan for that area or replanting. He doesn't like to, especially in a park, he doesn't like to take a tree down without having something going back, especially if it's a healthy tree. That's his. But I can ask him what his thoughts are.
Okay. Next issue that was brought up was the playground drainage, and the reports of weeds in the playground. I understand that 2020 wasn't a fair benchmark for the state of the weeds in the playground. They need to be removed mechanically, and I don't think that was necessarily done in 2020. And there are regulations that state that no pesticides can be used in the playground, which seems really prudent to me. there was also concern about this storm drain that I'm taking I took a photo of here in the south side of the playground, and that's reported to flood if it doesn't get cleaned of debris. I wondered if that's anything that that we'd taken a look at before, whether this is something that could be we could look to clear.
Every storm of significant magnitude, like tomorrow, where we're getting an inch and a half of rain, we send crews out to clean storm drains, and that's one of the many we check.
Right.
I also have our town engineer taking a look at other drainage concerns in the park itself. So we can look at that area as well. Problem is that it's a flat top, right? So you get 4 leaves on top of it and nothing can make it in. So I'll have her take a look at that.
Right,
as well.
right. I mean, the bush there, I think that's kind of covering it maybe is something that we could maybe take a look at there.
Or maybe we can remove the shrub. That would probably open it up.
Okay. The next thing we took a look at was the basketball court. The basketball court is apparently it's pretty popular. I hear tales that there's sound of play there quite often. We were taking a look at it late February. It wasn't clear of all the snow and ice quite yet. In the area that had been cleared, we did see signs of wear and tear. There's a long crack along the surface there for the basketball court. Word is that it's considered playable, but I wondered if there is any maintenance plan for this basketball court. Whether this is when was the last time that this was looked at? Is this something that is in line for any maintenance in the near term?
Carl, we did some work on it about, I'm gonna say it's probably 7 years ago. We went in and we sealed all the cracks and we repainted it green again. It's probably a capital item for next year, the next capital budget, put in there to go and look at fixing it.
All right.
And
The
as far
nets.
as the nets
sorry.
have been replaced, and
Yep.
while looking and replacing the nets, the southernmost post is tilting some. So I have a quote and waiting for a purchase order that will be straightened up this spring.
Okay, great. And so the basketball court is one of these areas that looking to develop programs for the Kiwanis we were considering. It's it's certainly, as far as I'm aware, the only basketball court that we have outdoors in New Canaan on public land that's not in maybe taken up by school kids. So I think having this is a great asset and something that we should be looking to really make more of this basketball court. It's kind of hidden, but it's a great looking court. It's the picnic pavilion. Picnic pavilion. I don't know whether that's the term that's used generally for this area, but it's looks a little scruffy. There was sign of some damage to it. It looks like something had hacked into the eaves on the picnic pavilion there. Looks like somebody had struck it and taken that down. House exterior walls required some power washing, and just this area just generally looks like it needs a little bit of TLC, a little bit of sprucing up. That said, I think it's a lot more welcoming now that the house has been used by as part of the Y Kai. And it just doesn't feel like it's so much that it's out of limits, but still, I think this area here is something that we might want to, to consider kind of like clearing up. As you can see there's a couple of sheds in the background here, look very inconsistent. I wonder if there's some sort of plan that we can start developing in order to kind of clear this area up and make it look a little less of a kind of like hodgepodge of various buildings that have just been thrown together. Problem is, as in many of our parks, there are plenty of evasives, so plenty of euonymus around, taking over the woods, especially over on the Waikai side. There's reports of Japanese knotweed growing along the trail near the nursery school. That is hacked back, but something that needs to be constantly monitored and maintained. I'm not seeing any signs of that, of course, in the winter months, but we'll keep an eye on that. Also reported the large blue Kiwanis Park sign, which is really kind of a nice centerpiece for Kiwanis that overlooks the pond, will often get overgrown with brush. You can see that especially on the area to the left of that as you look at the sign. Has a potential for being overgrown with brush. So I think that's something that maybe the Kiwanis hasn't had so much attention in terms of like managing the invasives as we have had at say the programs that we're running at Irwin and at Waveney to manage some of these problems. And so I think it's something that I think in order to make the park look a little bit more inviting, it seems it has that feel of being taken over by a lot of invasives and brush. They're short but pretty well maintained, pretty good walking trails at Kiwanis. There's a very valuable walking trail there. In as much as there's a trail that continues alongside Old Norwalk Road through Kiwanis that acts as an extension into town for many houses. So if you're living on Marvin Ridge Road or Old Kings Highway or any of the smaller streets off of that, that gives you a route into town. And I hear from some of the neighbors that that is used by people as a way to get into town and have a much longer walk. And it's certainly, since that was added and expanded, has added to that area. Those trails do require maintenance through the summer months to keep them passable. I hear that maintenance is being done, but does need constant vigilance because things will get overgrown very quickly in that area. Some of the paths that are off that look like they need a bit of a cleanup. Again, February, not a very good time of the year to be looking at this. Lots of wet, damp leaves on the ground, but you'd notice some signs of some rot on the steps that say lead down from the trails down to the pavilion, for example. Maybe need a little bit of care there.
Two things.
Yep, sure.
I have a contractor giving me a quote, but he's meeting with wetlands out there for the trail along Old Norwalk Road to widen it up to the same width so that the overgrowth won't be a problem. He should be meeting with them by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. As far as those stairs, before the present pool pavilion was built, that was the main trail, but now there's a trail outside the fence. And I'd recommend that we remove those stairs. They have not been officially part of the walking trail in 20 years.
Right. Yeah, I think that given the state of them, that may well be advisable. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem to really lead to anywhere at that point.
Yeah, Carl, they were put in probably 25 years ago, over 20 years ago too. It talked about having a picnic area up above the pond, but then that was before the town purchased the Stone Cove Yellow property, which is that whole area up the backside of the park. So
right.
Once we got that property, we put the main trail up next to the pavilion, up the big wide trail up to meet the trail that goes around there. These kind of have kind of become obsolete, so we can remove those.
Okay, great. And widening that path along Old Norwalk Road, I think that would be very much welcomed by the neighbors in the area. There was talk of like how it becomes pretty much single track along that area when it gets overgrown, and it gets overgrown very quickly. So I think that will be welcome. And my original version of these slides, I had swamp question mark on this, but I've been informed that this is a vernal pool. There's as you walk along that path by Old Norwalk Road, there's a wetlands area. You can see here how in February you've got the snow melt coming in, and you've got an area that looks very damp. This is a vernal pool recognized by the town wetlands department, and it should be left in its natural state. I know that some of the neighbors had voiced concerns about this being a breeding ground for mosquito larvae, but I hear that it is fairly healthy, and the inhabitants of that do include frogs who will eat those mosquito larvae. If there's any further concerns, we can speak further with the wetlands department. But my understanding is that this area here is a recognized vernal pool. Some questions about tree and brush maintenance from some of the neighbors. We see this quite a lot in Kiwanis, where there'll be trees in fairly public areas, but they're rather overgrown with vines. So on the left here, we have trees that are by the Mary B cabin. This is opposite the playground area. And as you can see, they're kind of being strangled with vines. The question was, who maintains those trees? And how would we go about getting those trees kind of in a better condition where they're not being strangled by vines? Is there, I mean, how is this
Well,
the
that
condition that we
section of
want
the
those to
park is
be?
a lease to the Girl Scouts. They have a lease in that section of the park.
Yep.
So I don't know if we're responsible for maintaining trees or that falls under them, their lease. I don't know.
Okay. So we need to find out responsibility for that area.
I'll talk to the tree warden
Yeah.
about that as well. So we'll figure that out.
Thanks. And the question was also posed about this tree here, which is in the parking lot. Apparently it's not a yew tree. It's no idea what tree that is. But this is opposite the nursery school. Whether this was something that might want to be pruned.
It's right at the entrance to Kiwanis with the nurseries, right after you pass the nursery school. It's across from where there are those garbage fences. Carl, I think it is the nursery school garbage fences.
That's right. Yeah.
It's across the entryway from that.
Now into park aesthetics. So as you come into Kiwanis, there's the Kiwanis Park sign. It was certainly more noticeable, I remember, many years ago. It's not so evident now when you're driving in from Main Street. Fortunately, there are neighboring trees which are blocking the sign. I know, Francesca, you've been looking into some work on the sign. I don't believe it could be repositioned or whether it could be lit. It's certainly Kiwanis Park sign is being hidden at the moment, and it isn't really what it should be. And I actually feel it's somewhat iconic, that sign. We need to something we can do to improve that sign. I don't know whether you want to talk about that now, Francesca, or
Why don't you finish the rest of your presentation? And
sure. Yeah. And then as you enter into the park, I think the next question you have is like, well, where is the park? It's not particularly welcoming. And there's a lack of visual impact when you drive into the park. Somewhat hidden, it's down the end of this road here. As Francesca just pointed out, next to the tree, opposite the tree that we're showing, there's this area here with fenced off storage and dumpsters for the nursery school. That rather blocks the vista of the park as you enter from Old Norwalk Road. So I just wonder whether this is something we might want to look to developing in the future, whether we can have a better entrance into Kiwanis Park, whether we could work with the nursery school and to find an alternative location for the dumpsters they have here, because it certainly doesn't exactly kind of like bring you in as you enter into Kiwanis Park. Given what you come across straight away. This area is a beautiful part of the park, the riverbank. Certainly, this is one of the joys of visiting Kiwanis in February, is you get access to this area. The brush is down. It's very evident the water's flowing, and it is a very pretty spot. It's so nice to have a flowing river going through one of our parks. This is the 5 Mile River coming through here. but it's not really used as a focal point for the park. And so another suggestion, thought for the future, is maybe the river could be a focal point for the park. There's brush here that gets overgrown early in the season. Do we make more of that area by grassing over that brush or controlling that brush? Maybe add a bench or two. Really is quite a beautiful spot there. I believe that the property of the park goes right up to that river. So it's certainly the park is ours for the taking if we want to make more of that location. It really is quite special. Which brings me to the eyesores. The next thing you see after you come to as you pass the dumpsters, as you pass that and you enter into the park, this time of year, you're just seeing the porta potty. It's there blocking the view of the playground and the pond from the parking lot. Question I have is that there year round, or is that just a seasonal thing to have the porta potty there?
That's a seasonal thing, Carl. We put it there because there's no bathrooms available, because none of the buildings there are winterized. So we put a porta down there from September through April when we take it out at the beginning of May.
Right. So I wonder whether we can maybe work on developing somewhere that's a little bit more of a less imposing location, the porta potty. It is in that location as well for things like the Christmas tree pickup. Maybe there might be other reasons for having it there. But, I wonder if there's something we can work on there, that location.
Originally, it was on the blacktop surface. Somebody moved it over to the grass. So I don't know. It may got moved during the.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. And then if you look out onto, what should be like the nice field, there's a dumpster in the middle of the field on the Waikai side of Kiwanis. It's very prominent in the middle of the field, and it doesn't really seem to be near anything. I just wonder if we could work towards placing that somewhere which is a little less kind of blocking the view as you look in that direction.
By the main pavilion in the summer months, and we have to move it someplace else in the park where it's not easily accessible, because otherwise you have the drive-by people who drive by the dumpsters any park, and they fill it with trash. So we put it down the back there so it doesn't get filled with trash over the off season.
Right. Okay. So maybe we'll look to develop an alternative location for that. And then I have a question. One thing that a couple times I've been there in the back here is this is wire fence that's kind of like it's kind of half open, whatever. Does that have any particular purpose? Is that maybe something that could be removed?
That's put there by the Waikai, the state health department. Part of their permit is their camp area has to be segregated from the public part of the park. So it's like my camp at Waveney. I have to block off areas so the public can't access to the kids. Some people were coming over from the Willowbrook Road side of the park, and they put that fence there to keep people coming into the park when their camp is in session, because it violates the state code.
Right. Are they if that is up, are they actually kind of okay with the state code, or is that a kind of an unofficial boundary there?
I think we could ask the Y to take it down at the end of their camp. They put it up before the camp season. They should take down the end of the camp season.
Right. Okay.
I'm happy to speak to them to take that down and put it back up when they start their season. I'm happy to take that on.
So in all, it's popular park. One thing that has been striking, visiting it even in like late February, there are plenty of people there, plenty of dog walkers, plenty of walkers. There were people there with their kids in the playground. It is more than just the pond and the beach and the pavilion, though not to kind of dismiss those are great parts of Kiwanis as well. But I think we should look to making this a park for all seasons and ensure that it kind of looks at its possible best all year round. So we'll continue looking at it and keeping an eye on what's going on at Kiwanis. I'll get together with the neighbors to do a second walk through, maybe the end of spring before the start of the summer season, to see how things are progressing, see how the brush is being maintained, and we'll keep on looking after Kiwanis. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go back to the sign. If you'll unshare, Carl, I can Okay, this, so looking at the sign, okay, I'll share mine. Hang on.
Francesca, can I make a comment at first?
Yeah.
I've asked the tree warden if they can limb up the white pine tree that leans over the sign, so we can limb it up and make it more visible. We really can't move it forward towards Old Norfolk Road, because then you block the sight line for cars trying to get out of the park and makes it dangerous. So where the
You know-
sign is kind of the best spot it could be. We can limb that tree up, then you can see it.
I looked at that today, and it is on the edge of the sidewalk where the sidewalk turns in. So it could still be on the edge of the sidewalk, but moved 4 feet closer to Betty Lavassik's driveway.
Jessica, I told you that I would look at it, but Steve's right. The first and foremost concern is of sightlines, as we discussed.
Yes.
So we'll take a look and see whether or not it can be moved, whether the thing can be prominently, but there, if I try to push it any forward, the sign also at that point in time, if I bring it 4 feet forward, it'll hang over the top of the sidewalk. The moment it hangs over the top of the sidewalk, it has to be 7 feet high.
I measured it. That's what I'm telling you. I went and I measured it.
We'll go take a look. and
There
I'll let you
is
know.
a way to put it over. It could be here as long as the post.
I'm not placing it on private property as we spoke, so I got to find out, as I mentioned yesterday, I'll look at the plan and we'll find out whether or not we can move it. But
Okay.
at present, I don't have an answer for you.
All right, let me just let everybody know that this is the Kiwanis sign, and it is 5 feet wide. It's not a small sign. It's 5 feet wide. And we were hoping to be able to hang banners off the bottom of it to say snack bar open, or, today is Touch a Truck Day, or announcing events, as we do sometimes at Waveney. They have, if the Carriage Barn has a art show, they have like a banner that you can attach to the bottom of the sign. It would be great if we just had rings there and were able to do something like that. Also, if the paint on the sign can be refreshed with white reflective paint, that's all, just white reflective paint. We asked about uplighting, and Tiger got back to me that is not allowed. It's against the zoning. But we could do downlighting. The thing is, if you do downlighting, it would have to be on both sides. So we can talk about that, and there's no electricity there right now. But those are things to revisit. Let me see if I have, yes, this rock, I put this rock here for you to see where the post could be, and then it would come to here. But it would be up high enough. And I'm well behind anyway, we'll talk about that, Tiger.
Francesca, I'm just worried some poles are gonna pull out and get clipped. It's difficult, and it's already hard enough with the signs from the nursery school, trying to see cars coming down the hill pulling up. So,
Right, these are the signs from the nursery school right here.
yeah, that makes it difficult to see traffic coming down the hill when you're pulling out. And I don't want to put the Kiwanis Park sign up further, because now we got probably cars coming the other way. It would make it difficult for people to see.
Okay, yeah, there's that. Okay, so those are the things that we want to do, though, is to make the sign pop. And we need to figure out a way to do that, and to also be able to advertise events that we are hoping to introduce in Kiwanis Park. It's a great park. It's 13 acres and accessible by sidewalk from town. It's, it's underused. We need to do something with it. Thank you. And also, Carl and I both were really impressed with the feedback from the neighbors and the help from the neighbors. They really care about the place, and we need to step up and not let it be so neglected.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely blown away by the the background and the amount of detail and the time and energy you guys spent, all three of you, with the neighbors and the neighbors' dedication. It is a park we're fighting for, meaning we want it to be as grand as Waveney. And I think the effort that you put in is evident. And I think the guys certainly have their hands full with all parks and all workloads. But I think by, slowly ticking away on these small tasks, whether it be we get creative and see if the town would allow some kind of reflective paint on the Kiwanis sign even. So I think keep the suggestions coming. We're going to get a lot of no's, but eventually we'll get some yeses, like the tree warden may say yes and put a different or trim the trim. So I hope everyone continues to be open. The next step of getting that fence replaced is again something great. I think receiving a message a few days ago from Betty, one of the neighbors, that the park was packed, that it was a hot day. I think the more pictures and notes we take and is out there on social media. Kara had a question in the chat, you guys, about the playground goers able to use the restroom and pavilion during the summer season, and they're not when the Y is using it. I know that state Department of Health rules, Steve, just like crossing through the park when they're in camp. I don't know if we've ever opened that pavilion when Y-Kai is not there, correct?
The pavilion in the back, I can't open to public because the camps use that extensively for their camp, and my camp use it when they come in. They could certainly use the bathroom at the main pavilion. It's open. We're open 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So, they certainly can use the bathroom at the main pavilion.
Okay, great. And Carl,
just to clarify, if I could,
of course,
you mean
Karen.
the bathroom? Thank you. The bathroom where you can park directly in front of, that is usually used as the passageway into the swimming area, into the beach.
Yeah, we can use that bathroom there. That's no problem.
Yeah, I think that's something that would be terrific, and just to make that visible and somehow convey that to playground goers so that they're not relegated to that unsightly porta potty, but knowing that they can access the restrooms for the children without necessarily having to have a beach pass and walk on the beach to go use the restroom. Certainly not to interfere with the camps.
During the beach season they can, but the off season I have to bring the porta potty in because the building is not winterized. So.
Okay.
Understood that. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you, Kara, for clarifying. Are there any other questions from the commission? Again, I applaud you guys for the amount of detail. I know it's late. I know we're all tired, but that took a lot of work and a lot of input by the neighbors and yourself. And I know it will require a lot of work from Steve and John and Tiger, and they're already overworked. So I appreciate it all the way around. If there's not any comments, and I'm looking, let me just glance that I don't miss anything because it's very important. I think we're good. Thank you again. I applaud you guys. That was an incredible presentation. Would anyone like to make a motion to end? Yes, Francesca. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night. We're signing off at 9:58 p.m. Good night, Elle.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job, Carl.
Good job, Carl.